Welcome everybody to the Destiny Dugout. I'm your host Cruz, member of the 3-time World's First Team from Elysium, and this is what we've got going on this episode. Check out myself and Vandal's socials, which are in the description box below. Thank you on a personal level for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy listening, and let us know what you think in the comment section. Now without further ado, let's get this thing started. Alright, welcome to the first episode. Let's go! Woohoo! We have a podcast.
Destiny Dugout, let's go.
Destiny Dugout. So yeah, welcome to our pod. We've been thinking about this for, I don't know, like 2.5 years.
Way too long.
We almost did it like a year ago with the same logo and video.
We were really close.
Honestly, we were really close. I think we just needed that like little bit of push. If we had somebody in our like friend circle be like, no, you guys should do it, like go for it, I would have been like, okay, yeah, I guess we could do it.
We would have got together because I think, we both had tons of free time, and it was just, we both had just cranked out like 100 episodes, like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we, our whole reason for wanting to start this stuff was we would have these conversations that would go on for hours, and Vandal would be like, why didn't we record that? Or I'd be like, Vandal, we should have been recording that. We just had an hour of podcast that we just didn't record.
Yep, all that content for free.
So no more wasting it. Now we're gonna have weekly conversations that we don't miss anything. If there's something that happened before, we'll remember it, hopefully, and then bring it up. So we've got some format. We're not just winging it.
This is some structure.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, we'll end up kind of like talking a bit about like how the podcast is gonna work, kind of going forward and stuff like that. But to start off, let's do a little intro for ourselves. So, Vandal, do you want to start off? Put you on the hot seat.
Oh,
there you go.
I guess I will. Shit. I'm Vandal. I have known Cruz for, I don't know, like what, 4 years now, and I play a lot of Destiny. I'm in Clan Elysium. I was one of the first people in there, and I don't have a main. I just play all 3 classes.
Hell yeah. All 3 classes or bust.
True.
Yeah, my first DM to you when I applied was like around the little after the Whisper mission, I think. It was like end of August, early September of whenever Forsaken came out. I don't know, whatever year that was. Was it 2018?
I have a horrible concept of time. Everything is just smushed together.
Was Shadowkeep. It was 2018.
I could convince myself that Forsaken was last month, probably.
I was actually thinking before we started this, like earlier, I was like, man, how do I refer to the past? 'Cause I was thinking, oh, we've wanted to do this since the Goss days, but it's like, what season was that? 8, I think? Season 8? So it's like, wow, we wanted to do this around like season 9, I'm guessing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Alright, my turn. Hello everyone, my name is Cruz. I am best known for my participation in 3 Worlds First. Another member of Clan Elysium. Just talking about, I applied back the day when it was still called My Rally Barricade. If you are interested, Evan did make a video about our clan history. It's a pretty good watch, so I recommend checking that out. I will put it in the description below if you do want to tune into it, because it does give a pretty good outline of where the clan came from and what makes us pretty different than others. Because not that we take ourselves seriously, but we're not we're not quite the toxic elitist group. We're still elitist, but not quite like in your face mean about it.
Yeah, we got a little bit more tact
Mm-hmm.
than others.
All right. So next, I've got I've got all these notes ready. We're prepared. Um, Goals of the pod. So I will say that what what the podcast is sort of for is an insight into what the top players of Destiny think about. Most people won't be able to have the input of somebody like myself who has 3 worlds first, hopefully more eventually. Um, and Vandal with his 13th wish, last wish. That I mean,
15th.
well, okay, 15th. We can say that. No, it's okay. Yeah, 15th. Um, he's been doing this stuff for super long, so both of us have a really good understanding of what day ones are like, and what's I think a little bit unique about both of us as well, even in our own clan dynamic, is how much we try to dive deep into the game and make it as complex. We will talk about like the very small percentage of things that can affect gameplay and really try to understand it. Um, so
the little
but
the
go
little intricacies, you know,
yeah, for
those
sure.
those those things that everybody just seems to miss. Um, and with that, that's kind of what keeps us, at least keeps me here, keeps me going, is being able to find those tiny little interactions and things that everybody's kind of already written off, and um, find a use or find a potential use, a future use for them. For instance, we were both big proponents of Arba Best well before it got anti-barrier and became the absolute powerhouse of a weapon it is. I know I was, because the gun had potential.
I remember talking about that thing during 0 hour.
Oh
So I was
yeah.
like, damn, this thing should. I actually feel like I once said, maybe not to you, but maybe to myself, honestly, while playing 0 hour, if this thing had disruption break, it would be broken.
Yep. Yep. Hmm.
Or wait, no, it always had disruption break.
It was, no, I think we were talking about Borealis.
Oh yes, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, because
I mean,
Arbalest used to
oh
not
my
work on
god.
match game, right?
Well, it did. It said it did heavy damage. It does heavy damage to enemy shields, right, with a kinetic slug, but it
Right.
it
Yeah.
never one shotted. That was the
Yeah.
problem.
That's
Heavy damage is nothing. Like, I
That's what
mean,
it
I think
was.
Bastion did the same thing, and it was, they're both kind of crap. I mean, but we talked about Borealis. Borealis has its own kind of disruption break. It's more of like its own damage amp. But if it had the damage amp plus disruption, oh my god,
Mm-hmm. It's like part of the
you know,
exotic too, but yeah, that's what it was.
yeah.
But anyway, all this to say that we will look at some of the quote unquote bad things, but what I would really say is the just outside of meta and
Oh
try
yes.
to make them work. And we like to we'll talk about builds a lot going forward and stuff like that. But we like to make builds that have a little bit more practicality to them than your average build. I know Vandal's gonna have a rant about builds maybe later,
Hmm.
maybe later in the episode, maybe next episode. We'll see. Um,
But going back to the goals, for me, pretty much everything Cruz said, but also I sort of want to try and bridge that gap between a newer-ish player and a, not a top player, but a high level player, because there's this very clear, in my opinion, kind of divide, like a line that is drawn, and that's based off of understandings of what happens in the game, and things that you should be prioritizing and things that are important, um, and sort of kind of give more information as to why that is the way it is, you know. And
yeah,
I
because
think,
that's something that really is. We just talked about. Or I mentioned how the game isn't super deep, but we try to make it a little more deep. to have a little bit more, I don't know, substance, I'll say. And that's something that a newer player doesn't understand. But to be honest, even to a certain aspect, an upper level doesn't understand. I think both can learn a lot from just taking the time to think a little bit more about what why you're using what you're using. Like why is it actually good rather than just it's good because numbers are good.
Yeah, I mean, you find this a lot where people put on, let's say, Reed's Regret, which we'll talk about, later, but um, Reed's Regret, and they put on Font of Might, and they're wondering, what the heck? I'm still not out damaging some people, you know, and that's just a clear case of they see what people are doing, but they don't know why they're doing it. They don't realize that they have to be on stasis, right? Little things like that, like it happens a
Yeah,
lot more than you think, and people don't know that mods like elemental time dilation exist, and um, and how they interact with other mods, and more than one font. That's just a small example, but there's a there's this idea that you just copy all the top players' loadouts and you just play better, and that's just, I think, in like half the cases, just not true.
I agree.
So, um, yeah, and I guess does that kind of cover why they should listen to
I think
us?
so. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
pretty knowledgeable. We're not super, like we don't disregard a lot of what Destiny offers. We like to try and play the game to its fullest. Like Vandal said earlier, without looking at the game that way, he doesn't know if he'd be here. I don't know if it would either, or if I would either, because the game for me is fun because I play every character and pursue every, not to say everything, because there's some bad things that I ignore, but
yeah.
like it's like 80%, 90% of the game I will do a, I don't know, trying to think of some weird build that I've done.
Storm Dancer's Brace.
Storm Dancer's Brace, yeah. Making that a light blade
Yeah,
GM build. And having us, the two of us, just like chain supers and just max out damage,
yeah.
and that's like how we're doing it,
Hmm.
This was the first season too when it came out, and it was hard. Now
Yeah,
it's only somewhat hard.
we didn't have no tier 10 resilience.
Yeah, for real. Oh gosh, you'd actually survive in your Stormcaller. Yeah, that's a good one though. Storm Dancers.
Yeah. And what's different about this pod, and I think uh, this podcast, Cruz and I, as he said, we're very in tune with what's happening in the game. We're actively playing it. We're not taking very large hiatuses by any means. um I know a lot of people will like kind of dip out after a little bit after the season starts, and kind of peeping a little bit, but we're very in tune with what's happening and the in-game systems and twabs and hot fixes, and you know I think that we can provide a level of insight that is almost always current and effective, I should say, because we're not going to just go out there and start throwing blanket statements about things without doing our due diligence first, right? But at the same time, we have the practical experience in which some of these things apply, like GMs and day one raids, which I know a lot of people want to hear about, and then also just the casual play. I mean, Cruz and I, you'll find us strike farming pretty often. Some nights
I
we're
still
just
need
flying through strikes.
an empty vessel with
Yeah.
either ambitious and Vorpal or ambitious one for all spike blinding. I've probably done like thousands, not actually. I've probably done like 500 though over the last like 2 seasons, just trying to rank up, and
Hmm.
still on that grind, baby, still on that grind.
Yeah, we
It's my
fly
new
through
ignition code.
strikes. We we level weapons along the way, do our red borders. Um, we're always trying to do something. We're working towards something in the game. So that's why I think that we're kind of a little bit different, and also Cruz has 3 world first belts under him, so
Yeah, I mean, I only have two
that'll
behind me
do
right
it.
now, but hopefully in the next month.
So yeah, but he's strong enough to carry 3 belts, right, Cruz?
Yeah,
What do you think your max is?
my max
100?
belts,
Yeah.
and they're pretty heavy, but yeah, I mean, I could honestly, though it's hardest probably to carry about them is like the physical room. You
Yeah, the
know, I could
size, yeah.
the weight of 100 I could probably handle,
It's
but
just how are you gonna get 100 on you?
exactly, I'm not like I don't know. Maybe I'm getting like 15, 20.
Okay.
Like I feel like
Alright.
that's respectable.
Yeah.
I got a
I
few
like
more
that.
years. I could be like 40 winning world's first. Could you imagine?
That'd be, oh man, that'd be
That
something.
actually
I
makes me
mean,
think: who's the oldest person to have won a world's first? That's a question for another day. But that's interesting.
yeah, that is an interesting question. Put it in the comments below who you think it is.
Yeah,
How about
my
that?
guess would probably be someone from original King's Fall. No offense, Goth and that group. But
Yeah,
you
actually,
guys
no,
are
that's a good
probably
point.
like kind of late 20s at that point. Most of them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway, last thing in our little welcome introduction, we're gonna do a little thing where each of us are gonna have 2 words to describe the
Oh
other
God, I'm
person.
not ready for this.
You're not ready? Okay, I have 2. I'll go first. I would describe Vandal as um crafty and old.
There you go.
There you go.
I
Why?
like that.
Um, I mean, obviously, you come up with more builds than anyone I know, and you'll think of things that are a little weird, like double div, but they make sense. They have a reason to exist, and I like it. It's different.
the fabled double
The
div.
boomer aspect. I mean,
I'm old.
it's pretty obvious. Yeah,
If you were to put my picture next to a picture of dust, you could not tell the difference.
yeah. But actually, it's
Um,
it's more so just it's honestly mentality. It's the old soul mentality. Fuck them kids.
Kinda, yeah. You know
You
what?
know?
Kinda. I'm with it. Honestly, like it, some of the stuff I hear about, people start playing these little what others will call high school games and stuff like that. I'm just like, nope, nah,
Yeah, nah, I'm not dealing with it. Yeah,
like get me out of here.
I'm
So,
honestly getting to the point. I'm approaching the old territory.
my 2 words for Cruz. Um, First one is driven. Cruz puts his mind to something, he goes. He's like a train. Do not get in his way. He will fly right through you. And that goes into the second word because he's jacked. Like he's huge. If you haven't seen what Cruz looks like, go to his Twitter right now. And before you are thinking about talking any crap to any of the world's first guys, you need to imagine yourself saying it to this guy in person at GCX. Because you won't. Simple as that. You won't. So those are my 2 words.
I would have loved to get the belt from Big Show on stage.
Oh man, that'd have been cool.
He would have. He'd been like, "Oh, you're kind of big." Just kidding. Choke slam. I
Or he
would
does
let it.
that
I'd let it
big
happen.
palm strike on your chest.
Oh my god.
Wham! Those loud ones. Oh
Yeah.
man, those are
He does
so
it with the
good.
belt, dude. My
Oh
chest is
Jesus,
caved in.
you pass out right there.
All right.
um,
Yeah, we're
so
ready.
I guess we'll go jump right into the first thing. Kind of what's new in Destiny 2. We are in week 2 of Festival of the Lost. We had a hot fix, last week, and we had a hot fix today. You
You know,
want to
so
talk a little bit about the?
I looked at the newest one,
Uh huh.
and it's just fixing some.
I find it kind of hilarious how, we're this deep into crafting and having a perk like repulsor brace, and apparently enhanced wasn't stronger than the bait. Like, how is that even?
That's
I
yeah,
swear, Bungie hotfixes are literally you could just put a stamp on top of it that says we don't have QA. Like there is no quality testers. Because some of this stuff is, man, it's very forehead, my opinion. If I were to give it a word.
yeah. Honestly, So basically, the other fixes were just like minor fixes to Festival, which I mean,
Yeah.
like lowering the headless ones count. Who really cares? Um, Last week, I guess like the interesting thing, um, it's probably like the weapon balance stuff. So like auto rifles getting
Mm-hmm.
some stability.
They got a
Uh,
precision
and
modifier, like very,
yeah,
very slight one,
uh-huh.
but it's better than nothing, I guess.
Precisions increase crit damage multiplier from 1.5 to 1.55, which raises the precision damage from 30 to 31. The 1 point increase. I did actually use what's the skeleton auto from this event called? Werewolf something.
Oh, Braytech Werewolf,
Yeah.
right?
It's kind of a laser beam, but it's still an
Really?
auto.
Yeah.
You know, it's still like, I can trace someone perfectly, and it's still not like that great of a kill. Um,
I think if any 450 auto is gonna come out of the woodworks, um, my money's on Firefright, man.
yeah, I think so too.
The haunted auto. I mean, this thing, I love the way that gun feels. But it's just kind of like, unless you're just mindlessly doing some activity or whatever, it's at GMs or anything serious, it's kind of trolling.
And you know what? It's kind of hard to beat a sidearm nowadays
Yeah, that's
because
true.
I haven't played enough Crucible to know. I don't even think I've died to one yet. Granted, I played like one game or two games with the auto, and that was it. I just want to see. I got Ibis from tap the trigger. It was
Hmm.
just like maxing out stability. I was like, I wonder how good this thing is. Sorry, but dude, those sidearms are broken.
Yep, they're ever since they changed the range fall off distance.
Yeah.
They
And I know
increased it,
rangefinder's
or
still like messed up. Like it's still like giving the 20%. So
yeah.
they increased it by 30%. I have it on my phone here. So that combined with rangefinder is kind of like a 50%,
Jesus.
which is
I
kind of
mean,
why
you
it's
got
crazy now. But even still, like it's like permanent extra rangefinder on every sidearm.
yeah. I mean, and you got ones with like Peace Bond that can get absolutely jacked, range stats. Um, Peace Bond's a good one. I know Forerunner is becoming very, very popular. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was already kind of popular, but from what I understand, this last weekend it was one of the top weapons. I think it might have been the top weapon. Oh,
You know what's
hold on.
funny though? It just makes sense to use it now too because of like seasonal mods.
Yeah.
Because if you're already gonna like stack in it, you may as well double dip. And I mean, what are you gonna
Hmm.
use? A sniper? Like no. What you're gonna use is like Lorenz or RB,
Oh yeah.
and that's why like people are mad about it. But yeah, sidearms are broken. Bows, essentially just got their swap speeds changed.
And that's to combat the 120 hand cannon
Yeah,
bow swap,
yeah, it's
which
really
honestly, if you went up against it, it was pretty oppressive. It wasn't very common in my opinion. There was a couple people running it, but when you ran into a guy who knew what he was doing, especially with Lucky Pants, oh my god, like you died, you blinked and you were dead. It was really fast.
yeah. I don't think that I've found something more annoying, to be honest, than bow swapping, but it's also not very common. So I
Yeah.
think what they did is fine because essentially that just drops this swap TTK a bit, which is good. Gives
Hmm.
you like that extra quarter second to be able to strafe behind a wall and then get shot through the wall.
Yeah,
You
because of
know.
tick rate things and
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So,
actually, like it's. I think.
but in your mind, you believe that you outplayed it, so that's all that
Yeah.
matters, right?
Damn, I hit that shot. Nice. I got armor piercing rounds. I can shoot. I swear, if there was actually, if the armor piercing could actually shoot through certain walls, that would be crazy.
It'd be like old like CS 1.6 where you're wall
Mm-hmm.
banging people. You're doing these lineups. Everybody's farming for snipers with AP rounds.
That
Oh
real quick,
man.
just about CS 1.6. All the walls in that game were made out of like paper mache.
Oh
You
yeah.
could
It was like
literally
full
wall bang
damage.
everything.
It was like full damage to every
Yeah,
wall. It was crazy.
it was insane. Like the two times I played
You
it,
know,
all you just spam walls, and
The only
if you do
reason
them, it's crazy.
the reason people didn't, crazy spam walls too much is because you had to buy ammo. You
Yeah.
actually had to refill your ammo, so you couldn't just sit there just dumping away. So, but I think, let's see what else is there with the hot fix.
I mean, Pulse's got a little bit of like range. It's not quite, I think, what it used to be, but it's like a little less. So I don't know. It's a little less oppressive. Pulses are still really good though. TLDR. Scouts can't one head two body like the high impacts, and pretty much, in my opinion, I think like Shira's. It's not nearly as good. Like in terms of SMGs,
I mean, SMGs just kind of took a big hit here, in my opinion.
they did lose quite a bit with the consistent
Like,
range or like zoom nerf they've had, and now like all of them getting their TTKs essentially reduced.
there's no reason to run an SMG instead of a sidearm.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's
Unless you want to run Teraba.
okay. That's terrible. Or even Risk Runner, didn't that get its
Yeah, it's where is it? I know it got
versus
changed.
players? It used to be 50% resist while in PvP. So with Arc 3.0 and kind of some people had some troll builds with stuff. You get the resist, but it went down to 15%. So I mean, you could still run Risk Runner. You're just not gonna be able to.
You'd run it for the offensive capabilities instead of the defensive, which I feel like
Yeah.
you used. Which is, I mean, I think it's good. Like 15% is already like that's plenty. 50% is
and
crazy.
and the glaive shield. This change I feel like took too long.
Yeah.
I feel glaive to me is sort of the same as the bow hand cannon swap thing. If you run into a guy who is very practiced with the glaive setup and he's got some kind of build, whether it be with Antaeus or some kind of invis or something, you're gonna get messed up and you're not gonna like it. It's glaives can be surprisingly oppressive in the right hands. So
they're so annoying sometimes.
yes. And how easily some of these glaives, they change the way how much energy you get per shot. You could sit there and you can close that distance real quick, put someone in a full panic mode, and it's you know it can get ugly real quick. I mean, you don't see it a lot in trials, um, for the sole reason that a lot of maps and trials I feel like don't really play well to this because you could just like run for your life. But I think in just a general sense, glaives are sort of in the same tier as like the bow hand cannon swap, in my opinion.
Definitely part of the annoying crowd.
Oh yeah, like it's super obnoxious.
Um, Snipers, the first PVE, and I think that pretty much the only PVE thing that matters here. Reduce flinch in PVE and
Yep.
increased the time it takes to reset in PVE, or in general. I don't know, one of the two. But thank you. Reduced flinch. Now just give them like 20% more damage.
Yep.
We need our PVE Sandbox team to come in and boost that damage. But that's a good change too, because I mean it's essentially what Lawrence is broken at right now.
Yeah.
Which is just eating shots and then getting a headshot. Snipers used to do that. Now it's more the linears, but at least snipers don't do that anymore. Shoot someone twice in the head with a hand cannon, they'll probably miss. Thankfully.
Nope. Unless they're on controller, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Controller with the targeting mod, and
it's still not like oppressive.
complete
I
freebie.
think. Yeah. It's not what it used to be.
Lawrence and RB are total freebies right now. It's actually unreal.
Plus with the fact that you don't even have to hit the enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I remember watching back one of my clips because I was like, how did I get that sniper shot? Like I just got pulsed in the head by 3 bullets, bam bam bam. And then I like quick scope and kill him. Like what? And I went back and I missed by a foot.
I have a couple of those
like
clips.
How I don't know how does it work that way though? Like that's what I'm most confused about.
You hit the clip and you're just like, man, that guy's upset.
Yeah.
That guy has to be upset.
Sometimes I literally say, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
Yeah, it feels bad. Let's see, trace rifles.
Trace rifle stability. Basically, they got a little bit better on low end and a lot better on the high end. I don't really know. I don't know what that's supposed to do.
And then
Make them
rockets
easier to
is like,
hit in PvP, and then yeah, 0.4 meters blast radius across the board. The nerf to cluster bombs that we needed.
yep. Let's see, a couple exotic changes here.
Lord of Wolves like seems cool, but it isn't because of, like the PvE buff. It's still like not that much better than what it was.
There was a time where it was doing like
Dude,
apparently like way
I
more
remember
damage,
like
right?
melting Shuro-Chi
Well,
and
no, recently.
Callie. Oh.
Yeah, recently it got disabled along
Oh,
with the hunter chess piece.
that's because you could like full auto it. Like it literally like burst all your bullets.
Oh,
Um
okay, yeah.
I don't remember how. I saw a clip on Twitter.
Well, I think it has full auto with Release the Wolves. I think it was just doing too much
No,
damage. I
no, no,
think.
no, no. Like it was like Fourth Horseman like RPM,
Oh,
something like that.
oh, that's
Here's the
funny.
thing though, it still didn't even have like that high total.
Yeah,
But it was still bugged obviously.
yeah, but what you were saying is back then, dude, for Lord of Wolves was
I want that
crazy
Lord
at
of
one
Wolves
point.
back.
That meta was wild.
It bring it back to there like to now and it's like fine. Because of how power creep has worked and like why would you
Yeah,
just not sit back with linears? But at least like I don't know, it'd be kind of interesting to see Lord of Wolves be like the close range linear, you know, as a special weapon.
the loadout would be what Fatebringer, uh, Lord of Wolves, and Reeds or Kata. Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Actually, procking Kata with Lord of Wolves be awful.
You'd have to be close.
Oh Jesus, that'd be terrible.
Can you imagine like you're on Oryx or something, sit middle, somebody's got their Lord of Wolves out. Why is it not doing damage?
I just need to see a number, please.
Oh, give me one of the thrall. Someone throws a nade. That would happen.
um,
I mean, that's pretty
I'm
much the hot
surprised.
fix.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they fixed that combination blow so fast. That was, uh, this was a neat little interaction that, um, I'm not sure who found it out. I saw it on Twitter, like YouTube or something. But basically, you get combination blow times 3. You swap to Solar with Athrus's Embrace, and you proc the weighted throwing knife perk with combination blow, and the knife would do an obscene amount of damage, like
Yeah, that was crazy.
obnoxious. Like I think this is just kind of a shot in the dark here, but I think it was like over like what 500k or something, like unbuffed or whatever. I don't know the multipliers that were going on there. All I know is first thing is I think it was Dadbot, because we were talking about when Oryx was still looking at getting soloed. He was like, "Would this work?" And I'm like, "It would be a absolutely cursed like solo, because you would have to not only use your super to block the bombs, you'd have to get out your stacks before the bombs went off, and then swap, and then somehow get your nut." Yeah, no, it was just not
And
happening.
then have your dodge to then get it on the new ads while it's still not going away.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
don't think it would be, but I mean, it's cool to theorize like that, you know?
it was a really cool interaction though, like stacking combination blow with the weighted throwing knife from Athrus's. Um, it
Honestly,
kind of reminded me of like old Hunter 1-2 with liars, before they
mhm.
messed with the interaction. And oh man, when you would punch things with that build, it was awesome. It felt so good.
Anytime we get crazy buff stacking like that, I think it's cool. I kind of wish it was a little more incentivized. I mean, obviously, I think swapping classes is kind of stupid.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like that
that's
shouldn't work.
cursed.
But yeah, I think as long as kind of what they did with Roaring Flames and Synthes and Worm Gods by like capping their percent if you have like more buff damage from Roaring Flames anyway. I think that's a good way going forward to nerf buff stacking, but still have a purpose. It's like if you want the 10%, then you, but it's not as impactful as if you were to do that and then multiply that number by 2 and get another one by 5 and then get another 1.5, and that's when it gets out of control.
Yeah. Um, but I think past that, that's pretty much the entire hotfix there.
Yeah.
And the latest one is just bug fixes, just QA things.
And to be honest, since our like a couple twabs ago, we got some info. It's probably super quiet the next little while.
Yeah. I mean, and then the last TWAB where they talked about vaulting certain weapons, certain adept weapons.
Oh yeah.
Reeds going away has people panicking. As
I
it is
mean,
currently, like the best heavy
it's
weapon
funny
in the
because at
game.
this point there is no more reads. I mean, you could get a normal one, but there's no more weekend for it.
Yeah.
Well, unless they bring it
Adept
back, it doubled up, but I think the odds of that are incredibly low.
Adept reads is gone. I mean, honestly, the difference between adept and normal reads is like
It's pretty much nothing.
it's like big ones. You can put a big one spec on one of them,
But it's
which
like big
is
ones on an LFR. Who really cares? Like ultimately, the only thing you're gaining is major damage. You know,
yeah.
it's
So it's like 7%'s the difference, right? I think it's
like big ones is
7%.
great on like snipers, like special snipers. I think it's just good on special weapons and
Mm-hmm.
machine guns. Things that are a little bit more like cross enemy type.
Linears, you're almost always just dumping that into a boss.
And if you're not, it's gonna die in like 2 shots anyway.
Yeah.
So you won't even
Big
notice the
ones wouldn't have.
7%.
Yeah. Big ones wouldn't have made a
Right.
difference there. So
I think actually that's one thing a lot of people don't understand is that on lower enemy types with high damage weapons, if it doesn't change the kill time, as in like the amount of bullets it takes to kill something, then who cares? Like if forbearance is already one hitting all red bars, then why would I have a minor spec?
Yep.
Just an example. Like an LFR doesn't need to have, I don't know, major spec if it's gonna 2-shot the Cyclops. Cyclops is a bad example. Hydra, and then you put it on, you're still 2-shotting. Like very rare case, I think is what you're gonna say, where they're low enough to where it actually would matter.
Yep. I was about to say very, very, very rare cases where that mod will make a difference. And I mean, the only thing maybe what speed runs, and they're using some kind of crazy cracked loadout or by some stretch, but even then, it's like, you know, the odds that, oh man, I didn't put major spec on, we got to go to orbit, is going to actually affect your run is just so low. It's basically zero.
Yeah. Even in regards to speedrun thing, just have one last point here. Like the most important thing I think you could do is swap to a backup mag and then back to a boss spec or majors or big ones for like DPS on orcs or something like that. If you're really trying to, because then you could get like an extra triple tap proc or a Vice Stinger proc, and that is gonna like your DPS is going up every time one of those things happens because you're delaying a reload. So having that extra bullet is like that's actually meaningful.
Yeah. So I guess that, and honestly, looking at the rest of the stuff going away, you have the Iron Banner Pulse, Reese Walker, Aisha's Embrace, Silicon Aroma, Duty. I mean, it was cool to see Silicon and Duty Bound come back, but like they just didn't bring anything special. Duty Bound was the standard stats for all, one for all roll. Like it's just for the 10th auto rifle we've had. And Silicon, snipers are not in a great place right now, especially when you have RB in the special slot. Like it just can't compete. Aggressive snipers and honestly just snipers in general, they need help. They need a lot of help. But one thing I wanted to touch on really quickly is the legacy focusing that they're talking about in season 20, which I'm really curious how they're going to implement that. I can't see a way where they make it and it's I don't want to say good or effective, but I help me find the word here. I just feel like they're gonna bring it in and it's gonna be half baked.
Yeah.
So to relive that.
I don't know if it comes into the game and actually like serves its kind of purpose of like just giving you the old thing that you weren't here for in the role you want. Because I'm like, what are you gonna get? Like one role per week with like a 1 out of 6 on each column. Like I did
Yeah,
that for Ignition Code hundreds of times and never got it. So who's to say like
it's
it's ever
it's
gonna
just gonna be
come and actually
pain.
matter? Like it's probably just gonna be a bunch of deleting because you're never,
I
unless you
mean,
just get a ton of perks or can craft them.
when they say legacy focusing, that makes me think, you know, you have a pool of all the weapons that are old, right? Like, I think is Summoner back? Summoner is back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But all the old weapons like reeds and stuff, and you dump your trials engrams into, and like you said, you're gonna get a whole bunch of whatever other trials weapon is
Here, have
sunset
this
is
scout because it's going
vaulted.
away too.
Yeah, you're gonna get
I don't
Aisha's
want the scout though.
embraces,
Oh, too bad.
and
It's all part of the
you
same pool.
you're rolling the dice twice. One to get your weapon and the other to get the roll you want. And it's just going to be a huge time sink, and that's their way of keeping things from being effectively sunset. But man, this sucks. If that's
Yeah.
what it is, that sucks.
'Cause I don't know if they actually understand how rare it is to get a certain role. Like not necessarily to get like a
And
5 out of 5. I mean
they've
like get like
admitted
2 out of 5.
they've admitted that certain perks are weighted. I remember DMG tweeted that. He said that we are tweaking the weighting of certain perks dropping on a weapon. I can't remember what weapon it was for the life of me right now, but they did admit that they weighted a specific perk to show up on a weapon.
I do know in regards
It might have been
to
title.
like Storm Chaser or maybe just all of the dungeon weapons, but Leanna said they're in, I think it was during that TWAB, said like there is no waiting, but I think you're right that like once upon a time in some batch there was waiting. It's like, I mean even in regards to like the purple sword, I mean they purposely lower that
Yeah,
drop rate. It's, who's to say if they don't
they have
necessarily
control over
tell
these
us,
things.
if they don't literally say this thing has a 6.7% drop chance, we don't know if it's 50-50 or 90-10 between
Yep,
two weapons. We don't really know.
yep.
I mean, people would just
So
RNG it, and eventually, I have 100 inputs into this table, and it got to 52%. Well, then it's probably 50-50. But like that's not many people are
yeah,
doing that.
exactly. So that's just let's just hope that that's much more fleshed out and properly implemented than we imagine it will be. Um, and that kind of moves into our next topic here of the seasonal content, right?
Yeah.
And
So what this is really about is a mixture of what like the holiday stuff brings. So like the current thing of Festival of the Lost, but also just like seasons as a whole, because they're not too far off. To be honest, they both bring some weird game mode thing or gameplay loop, and that's what you're supposed to essentially do. It's just the seasons are a little more fleshed out with like more. There's gonna be like 3 things instead of just the one.
I think part of me, I think one of the worst things that they're doing right now is they're creating a separate thing besides the season, right? Like in my opinion, the haunted lost sector we could 1000% do without. If anything, just throw a bunch of these guys randomly and catch crash. Like unironically, I think that would have been a much better way of doing this event, because you would have people doing your seasonal activity. You would have them also killing the headless horseman guys or whatever, the headless guys
And it's like
for
it's
the
free, right?
season.
So like, why not
Yeah,
just add them in?
you know, um, because right now as it stands, you have people that it's the same issue with the season in general, right? This season, the upgrade we got from the helm or whatever to give us the currency for when we do like strikes or gambit or crucible was so late in the upgrade table to be useful. You have us doing these activities as part of the seasonal challenges and for pinnacles and stuff, and yet this upgrade that would make playing the season more fun and better, in my opinion, you know, is so far out of reach that by the time you get there, you're probably already done with the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's really what's so scary of rewarding the player and like giving them a bunch of stuff. It's not like this they're breaking the game by getting their demo explosive scout early on. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
I get it's for playtime, but like people aren't going to be happy and want to keep playing because oh, now I have an upgrade to go get more stuff during strikes. Now I'm definitely going to go back and do strikes. Like no, I just played a bunch of strikes. I'm done with it. You know? Like that's the
yeah.
normal rational mind of a Destiny player. I played this a bunch. Now I'm incentivized to play it a little bit more, but not by much. Why would like I'm good. I'll pass.
Yeah. I mean, and for the people that aren't particularly fond of, doing that seasonal loop of, catch crash expedition, do a bunch of catch crashes, and then you run out of materials, so then you got to go do strikes. So you're doing the strikes to get that one material, and that's all you're getting, and then you got to do more catch crashes for the map fragments, and then you got to do expeditions, and it should be almost a self-serving loop. Under doing one activity should kind of get you to that end goal of seasonal weapons. I mean, people want these red borders, and ever since you added, the craftable weapons per season, that's the goal. That's the end game, right? Having a crafted weapon. Nobody cares about the role, because why care about the role when you could just make your role? You know, and so getting people to that point, it should be the goal, and it's just it feels like speed bump city, man. I don't know.
They definitely don't make it easy or even fun sometimes.
Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. Like I
Like what you're
can't.
saying about jumping between three different playlists. Like I think that's part of like burnout, where it's like
Yeah,
you have to do this to then get that. It's like why couldn't I just like catch crash and get both, and
yeah. Or
then
why
I
can't
go do expeditions and then cash in on what I just got.
yeah, why can't PvPers just play a bunch of PvP and then get one of the little currency every game or so, and it'll take them a while to be able to focus stuff, but they'll get there. I mean, they play enough. The last thing you want to, in my opinion, the last thing you want to do is force people into realms they don't want to go, right? For instance, making certain quests involve going to Crucible and stuff like that. PvEers have never liked that. Historically, never. You know, Trying to get the Witherhorde catalyst, going around getting grenade launcher kills, that was awful. You know, um, PvPers, they don't particularly like going into expeditions. It's very slow. There's, I mean, you can kill ads to make it go faster, I guess. I'm not even sure if that's true.
I mean, sort
Um,
of. Like you have to kill them sometimes, but yeah, it's pretty much just on a timer though. Like
yeah,
essentially, it's just on a timer. You have to wait 10 minutes to get your loot.
yeah, and so it's kind of painful for both ends here, and I just think that they need to do a better job of effectively rewarding the player's time. Because as it stands right now, this season, in my opinion, wasn't that bad for the seasonal loop. There were definitely some things that they could have done better. For instance, making that one focused weapon a week be a red border, that should have been there from the start,
Yeah, how was it
and
not?
that got
It's
added in
always
later,
been there.
which crazy to me that was ever taken away, because that's arguably one of the best upgrades. Like any new season, you find that upgrade, that is your path. You are going straight to that one. Um, and then you know the catch crash expeditions, catch crashes, they weren't that bad. They really weren't that bad, in my opinion. A couple of the bosses were a little bit annoying, like the one that went behind that barrier and you just had to kind of do wave defense in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a little bit slow. Um, and then expeditions, we talked about them being a little time based, but compared that just to the season before in Castellum and containments and severs, I'll take catch crashes, because containments, those are rough.
That's yeah.
Those are very
But we
rough.
got
They're
Levy
very
back.
long.
That's cool, right? No, it's not.
No, if this
Boring.
is if this is how they're bringing back our vaulted content, whether it be a new Fallen social space that we only go there to listen to a radio and have Spider debate us with some kind of engram, right? Like, or bringing back
IP.
Leviathan for some glorified public event as part of a season, like, no, I don't. It's almost like, it's like slightly insulting. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you take these coveted areas that people like, if you've played back then, they mean something to you, and then like Leviathan, the underbelly, it had like nothing in there. It had a couple like rare enemy spawns or whatever for triumphs, and that was it. There was nothing, and it just I don't know. It just felt very uh almost lazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just reskinned. I like the idea of it being a public space just to there again, but I can't believe it wasn't the full thing, to be honest. And I think part of why it's annoying is the fact that it's from like the raid content that's been vaulted. That's like the most
Mm-hmm.
coveted space in Destiny that's been vaulted. That and like the dungeons, whatever you want to call them, the secret mission, 0 hour and the Whisper mission.
I mean, I can't think of any other game that has taken endgame content and then just put it away and just officially like taken it away from players. A live service, kind of MMO style game. Um, it's still crazy to me, and this is how we're getting it back. It doesn't give me hope for when they actually do bring back the raids. Um, but with King's Fall, eh, maybe. I mean, what they did with King's Fall was pretty impressive, I'll say.
Yeah, it's actually enjoyable. Good changes. But then again, I also think it was a lot easier to do because it was already a good raid. It
Yeah.
was just a little slow. Which granted, I think it still is. I think like opening to totems still takes kind of a while. But it's also, I believe, part of its charm. Because sometimes when I'm doing it, I'm like, man, wow, this raid just feels like a raid, You feel like you're in this
Mm-hmm.
weird place that's like kind of like threatening and scary and really big, and a lot of raids I think lack that now. I think DSC is a good example of what it like of something that's good, but open it up a little bit more. Make it
Mm-hmm.
like appear even more vast. Like I love the ship area in King's Fall. As you walk out and it's just like, what the heck is this giant room?
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
When we got to that part in day one, I got hit with this like wave of nostalgia, you know,
Yeah, same.
doing that in D1 with a couple friends. It was always so good. So okay, back
Yeah,
to what
don't
we were
want to get
talking
too
about.
raid focused. We're talking about seasonal stuff, the boring stuff.
Are holiday events enough are supposed to fill the void during content gaps? My short answer is if they integrated them into the season that they were going to be in, which Bungie should have the foresight to do that, they would. They would fill it quite nicely, actually, because it would give you a reason to go back and it would help with the farm.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
What are your thoughts?
I think that integration idea is cool. I guess part of the problem is that people don't always pay for the seasons, but then again, I think maybe what they could do is just make it free during the event. That almost like entices. Oh, I'm playing it for like a week.
And if you
I
don't,
like it. Now I'm gonna buy it. Like, I almost feel like it's a good marketing pitch
yeah,
too.
and if you don't, yeah, you don't have the season. Obviously, you can't earn the rewards from the season and stuff, right? But when you do the Halloween event, for instance, and you start doing catch crashes, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I didn't know this is what brought the season brought. It could incentivize people to buy it.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool idea.
Hell,
And
even make a bundle deal, like a package deal. You buy all the Eververse armor, and you get the season.
yeah,
The Halloween armor and stuff. So I think there's something there, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. It's just for me the big thing is like you have with like for instance Festival of the Lost is the main one in my opinion where you have this new activity that comes out and it really doesn't get you anywhere. it almost separates you entirely from the season, which some people are like, oh, that's great because then it gives you a break from the season. But like if you need a break from the season, that implies that you're not done. And this is just making it worse.
Yeah. I
So
think it helps bring in players, but it's really not going to hold that many. Like for 3 weeks, I think they might be too long.
that could also be a thing too, crank up the amount that you gain and lower the costs and make it a week-long event. You'll see a lot of people playing, because then if you make it like basically spend 1-2 days of kind of just not super power farming, but you know putting in a little bit of effort and you get the event done, you could see a lot of people playing that. I mean, I would.
I mean, I would too, because it'd be like, okay, it's around for a week. I'm gonna have more urgency to play it if I do want something. Okay, I want the new sniper. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think maybe a week is too short, just because of like more casual perspective of I don't have a certain week available. Maybe 2 weeks works, but I know for certain the 3 weeks is. The only thing about it is that I like the tower. I like how it looks. So I don't want it to be, you know. I do
I don't know.
like the
I don't.
changes.
I mean that.
I mean,
Nah.
they're small. Just something that like I like when the tower has something rather than the normal boring version.
I
But
mean,
then again, I'm also just sick of the tower. We've been there for so long.
I was about to say I avoid the tower. I can't do anything in there.
Yeah. Soon
you
you
know,
won't even be
I'll
let in. They're gonna
I'll
limit
I'll
to 0 people for FPS reasons.
I'll delete primes before I go to the tower, dude. Every time I go to the tower, it takes me 10 years to load in. I can't even load my inventory. You can't change anything. Can't even put a shader on. You know, I'm like, nope, get me out of here. I'll go to the helm to clear my postmaster.
We
So
talked a little bit about this kind of during our initial point. But like, what's with the just new seasonal loop? That's just I don't even want to call it new anymore because it's been around for 6 seasons.
it's the
They're
double
all the
currency.
same, but it's
It,
like
it,
do this, then go here, then go back to the start. There, and then back. It's just so repetitive and monotonous. You feel like you're. I mean, it's almost like Vex offensive, Banal,
mm-hmm.
in terms of watching Netflix while doing the activity. But now
Oh
you have to do three
man,
activities.
yep. And
Now,
they,
obviously, Vex offensive wasn't good, but
for me, I'd rather be fully engaged or not engaged at all. And this like weird middle ground they're trying to create, it's awful, because not only are they doing it with one activity, they're doing it with two, right? Like catch crash and expeditions. It's it could have been better. I couldn't exactly tell you how, but I could tell you it could have been better, because you have catch crash that is something that you can speed up relatively quick depending on how efficient you are, and then you have expeditions that you think you could speed it up, but you probably can't. I still believe you can't. Um,
not to a big degree.
and and the big thing, the overarching issue, is also the currencies. You need to manage two different currencies to then earn a third currency, right? It was like the what coordinates and then the map fragments to
Mm-hmm.
get the focusing material. I couldn't even tell
The
you what it
Umbral
is.
energy.
That one, yeah. The umbral energy, which is something that you should be able to earn by just doing activities. Dungeons should give amount. Doing a raid should give an amount. And then you run into the issue of, oh, people just farm raids. I don't see an issue with that.
And even still, just thinking like they could still incentivize you to play it by giving the best drops in the seasonal stuff. Obviously, I do think like the seasonal stuff should help you rank up the season the fastest. I mean, that's the A to B thing. It makes sense. But if you want to go the longer way, but do the way you want, then maybe you play a couple Crucible games and you get 6 energy. And now you could focus something. Go do a raid and you get 6 energy. I don't know. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be as fast, but it's just allowing another way to get what you want. Because then, hey, I want to go farm strikes. oh, but I need to go get these weapons. No, that doesn't happen. I can go farm strikes. I'll be a little less efficient, and I won't get the weapons as fast. But I'm also gonna be doing something that I kind of want to do because I'm also
Hmm.
trying to do this thing. And with
And not feel like I'm wasting my time.
how much Destiny has like and like Bungie has designed the game to be go do this thing to get this, the more overlap there is, the better. I think the healthier the game will be because then you can go do something that's a little different when you get bored, right?
Hmm.
But you're still going the same direction. You're always moving forward towards that end of season goal.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
and you're,
they just
I
gotta
think
make it easier.
yeah, I mean, and part of that is bringing a proper way to get those red borders, man. I feel like you'd have people in your events more the faster you can get someone a crafted weapon. Because when you get that crafted weapon, you want to use it. You know, I'm thinking in the eyes of the I want to say casual, but I guess normal player. Because top players that ask most top players, they don't have half the crafted weapons because they've already looked at the roles. There's no need, right? So for them, it's like a completely different issue. But for everybody else, I feel like here's an idea. What do you think of this, Cruz? What if right at the season start, you get to pick one weapon, and they just instantly give you all the patterns for it right at the start of the season?
Hmm. I mean, I would like that, but maybe
I
it's
think it'd
too
be,
rewarding.
but the way I see it, it's like it gets you into the season faster,
I
right?
agree. I do
You
agree
get
with
to use
that.
a weapon, or you know what? Instead of picking it, they just give you one with, like, for instance, this season would be Volt Shot, right? So let's say the season just gave you the sidearm with Feeding Frenzy Volt Shot, right? And right up front, like the first thing you did, they give you that sidearm, so you mess around with Volt Shot. You're like, I like this perk. I really like this perk.
You know, it'd be really
And
cool.
then
Not to cut you off, but I was just
yeah, go
thinking
for it.
about like how like the story you go around, like you'll go to an area and it'll be like, oh, what's that? You go pick it up, like
Hmm.
the weapon. That'd be awesome if in the intro mission there was a table with a gun, and you interacted with it and got like the threat detector volt shot, which is like the sidearm roll that I like the most. And it's just
Hmm.
like that was like the curated one with like the new perk, or like when incandescent came around, you got a mini tool with incandescent on the table,
Yeah, I mean,
and your ghost is like throw that on. And then you just start
oh,
mowing through a bunch of like thrall that come at you with incandescent or something like that.
yeah.
Bam,
The
you're
mission,
hooked on the perk right there.
you pick up the gun. The mission throws a whole horde of just like trash ads at you, and you get to see the perk in action, and it feels so good,
Because that's
And like,
advertising for the season, because that's a new season's perk. Oh, I want this perk. What other roles can it get?
hmm
No, that's it's too easy, honestly. Bungie, come on,
and
you
then
gotta
once
think
you
of this.
complete the mission, it just gives you the masterwork of that weapon. Like, it just masterworks it for you, and now you have a masterworked weapon, which could never hurt.
I
Only
mean,
it's
they
only good.
love giving out these roles. They gave snapshot opening shot on Macabre in Festival.
I
It
think
might
that
not
was
be
a
the
bug though, but I don't know.
no. If you
It
if you
was no, I know, but it was if you did the event last year, like if you completed it
oh, you
last
didn't
year,
get
you
it,
didn't get this role.
but I think you were supposed to.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think it's like because you did the season last time and they didn't change it because there were so
Yeah.
many bugs in the first week. Like
Yeah.
it's like old voice lines still in it. It's like they didn't like update. They literally copy paste and like, oh shit, we gotta change
Hmm.
this. Oh damn, or whatever.
It's just
So
these events are so low, and then they bloat the loot pool with like the Braytech Werewolf and Horror Story, and it's just, why is there no like holiday event focusing? How is that still not a thing?
well, I mean, there's no Vanguard and Crucible focusing, so I think that's your answer.
It's unreal to me. We have something for Iron Banner that shows up now only twice a season, by the way, which I think is a terrible choice. Like, only
Yeah,
twice a season is awful. It
I
was
think it should be
already
around every double rep for Crucible,
every double Crucible rep. Yeah, I agree.
which is like every what, like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that.
Which would get us to the back to the
Back to the
three a
3, yeah.
season.
Right? Because if
Yeah,
it's if even if it's every 15-week season, I'm pretty sure this week or this season's
Yeah, I mean, and circling back to the seasonal loop, it's just the currency issues, how you get the currency, um, and if you're maxed out on currency and you're doing something that would get you normally more of the currency, it feels like you're wasting your time. Having
Mm-hmm.
these currency caps is so like out of touch to me. Like you're punishing players for prepping to do your event. Like there's no downside to having a bunch of just currency from doing strikes or whatever, and then you go into the containment, for instance, and you just sit in containment for the next 3 weeks, and you have all this currency to spend, and like where's the downside? I see no issue. One happened, you know almost in a more linear fashion. You do a whole bunch of strikes and then you do a whole bunch of containment, whereas now it's do a couple strikes and then do a couple containments, and now you have to go back to do a couple strikes because you need more of this currency. It just feels awful.
This kind of makes me think of like another idea we can do for the pod, where it's like we each come up with 5 things that we want like tweaked, like something smaller. Like for me, it's
The
like
wish list.
the inventory, like space, and um how many different mats we have. I'm like, the other day I literally got 50 out of 50, and I'm like, I don't like keep old stuff. This is literally just from each season. I gotta have my dark fragments because what if I go do something on uh uh the whatever Dreaming City?
Yeah,
Couldn't
Jimmy City.
remember. Then I got my 2 sets of masterwork cores and Ascendant, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like because of this seasonal stuff with manifested pages and spectral pages, plus the treasure coordinates and all, like I gained like 6, and I got I'm like, okay, I have to throw this in the vault now, in my near maxed vault, because I'm holding too many things.
And I feel like there's room for a consumable, right? Like, in fact, put it in the artifact, right? Because the artifact only happens with the season, right? So you put it in the artifact, you inspect your artifact, and your currency's in there. Just take it out of the consumable like slot. Like to me, it has no purpose being there.
That made me think of the
Remove.
resonant element, where we used to have a certain thing for a certain perk.
Yeah,
That's insane to think back. We had
yeah.
that.
It was awful. Like I remember looking at certain weapons, certain red frames, and being like, "Oh well, I don't need either of these, so I guess I'm just gonna delete this."
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I'm crafting 3 weapons with a damage perk. Oh, well, I'm out. Can't do this one. Insane.
And when you had to get a raid weapon with a raid perk
Oh yeah.
to get that material too, that was crazy. You know.
Good thing it was
Um.
Vow, where like everything was bad because bait and switch didn't.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, if that was King's Fall, well, I guess
Uh. That's true.
specific
But
good raid perk. Either way, if there was one with a good perk, that would be very annoying. Thankfully, we don't
yeah,
have
I
to deal
mean,
with that.
utilize the artifact more. As much as I hate the artifact and what it brings and what it does, if it's gonna be here forever, at least make it useful, right? Because right now, especially now that we can unlock all the mods, the artifact is a thing that you look at until you hit a certain season pass rank, and then you stop looking at it because by then you've already unlocked all the mods, and you're already at what plus 18 or something
Mm-hmm.
on the artifact, which is already past GM ready, assuming you did your pinnacles. Like there's absolutely no reason to ever inspect your artifact ever again. It just sits there. So
Another topic down the line: artifacts. Why they
oh
serve
man,
no purpose.
oh god, I feel like I could talk about for that for days.
All right, so let's finish up this current season stuff about what do we think that's good. I don't want to be all negative always. Each
Yeah,
pod we gotta have something that's good. So what's something that you like about current seasons, whether that's like the structure, gameplay design?
I'll say just catch crash, right? Not so much. I mean, I guess I could say expeditions because Well, yes, we did talk about how you can't really speed it up. Expeditions are fairly short, right? The time commitment there is very minimal. The effort is very minimal, but catch crashes are they vary enough to make it somewhat interesting. Like, you obviously get 2 out of the 3, right, rooms, and the tank one's not that bad. The big servitor eye thing or whatever, that was not that bad either because there's a lot of ads that spawn, and honestly, the one where you throw all of the things and blow up the tanks, there's a ton of things that spawn in there, which just makes for great super spam. Just kind of put on forbearance and just look at the floor and left
I
click.
know, right?
Like that's just forbearance, and it's not bad, right? I'd say the bosses could use a little work, but you know, catch crash as a whole it's a relatively repeatable activity. I definitely will choose that over honestly a lot of seasonal activities. I would pick catch crash over and expedition.
I don't think Catch Crash is a bad seasonal activity the same way that the public event from last season was.
Yeah, I
It's
mean it's kind of hard to compare the two, but if you are going to compare them, catch crash is easily better.
I mean, okay, then would you say the Severs? Like, I think I'd still take the Catch Crash over Severs.
I think Sever would be expeditions, right? In the comparison.
Then what's the Catch Crash? I would say the Severs are the
Castellan.
catch. Okay, I think of it
Yeah.
reverse because I think Castellum is the easy thing that's easy to program.
Which is the expedition. Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of like number of players designed for it, you're right. That Sever is like the fire team sized, and then containment is like the big thing.
On both accounts, I would take Catch Crash Expedition.
I agree.
Because Sever was the fact that they locked you behind RP and almost all the Sever missions. Man, that bugs me. Like I have nothing against doing the Sever for the lore and kind of the story and what's going on, but that stuff to me needs to happen in the background.
Sever
And
is like
as you're
unskippable
doing the mission,
cutscenes in game.
yes,
It's
and
like you do that once, it's great. Like it's fine. Like you want to be involved with the story, and even if it's stupid or whatever, I still think it's a good idea to have that. Like I like that integration. The problem is that just every time you have to do it, you have to deal with that dialogue. You don't have it like
it
I've done
it
this
needs
20 times. Oh, I have to hear Aldrin talk again.
it needs to happen at the beginning, right at the beginning of the mission, and right at the end. Right, that's it. Like
Also,
after
I
you've
think
killed the boss, and then at the end you got to listen to some RP. Whatever, you're basically done. The effort's over. You can sit in your inventory, clean out some blues or whatever. But happening right in the middle is just so like it's so annoying.
the mission objective should update once you finish it, regardless of the talking that's going on, so that you can still progress and just run past if you don't want to.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
why does the
It should be a
door get
choice.
locked by the dialogue? Like, it just, you do that, dialogue gets triggered, you objective marker, door opens, you leave, dialogue is still happening. You can still hear it in comms if you want. You can still do it that way.
There's no reason to keep that door locked. What are we waiting for? The ads to set up?
Yeah,
For
real.
the
Our
for the cabal
character
to set up their turrets and get in position.
Yeah, our character's gotta make sure his gear is still on him. Still on him. It's just for inventories, it's inventory management time.
Yeah.
Oh, what blues do I have to delete during this cutscene that I can't skip? Yeah, I think this season is actually kind of similar, but in my opinion, just a little worse than Splicer, which is Override, which I think Override or yeah, Override, right? Yeah, Override I think is a worse version of Catch Crash.
Oh, Override was
But
so painful, man.
I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. I think it make the
I couldn't
intro a little
stand
bit better,
Override.
and I think it's fine.
I couldn't stand Override because they went back to their not went back to, but it was just the moat dunking. Like
Oh,
anything that has
okay,
to
I
do
agree
with
with that.
dunking
Yeah.
moats, get me out of here because you're asking me to go do something, go pick up something, and go place something. Like you're asking a lot of an activity that I'm supposed to farm.
Yeah.
Like
No, I
that's
agree. I think like the later bits are nice, and then I think the expunges are good. Like the fact that you could skip a couple of them, I made them nicer. But I liked them as missions. I would
I like
replay them
yeah.
more than Catch Crash personally. and that's not because
Mm.
I'm biased and that I did a million of them. I just found them more enjoyable just to go back in and farm. Like I'd rather farm that than Catch Crash. Because Catch Crash is just like, I don't know, you're one of 6 people when there's a million things blowing up around you. So maybe it's just because I feel like I ultimately like I can't speed it up myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think
I
the
mean,
format is fine. It's honestly making the gameplay loop more enjoyable. Because I don't think any of this seasonal content's ever gonna be like super engaging. To be honest, I don't even think expansion content is much like that much fun after a while.
yeah,
Right? Like I'm
you're
not doing
not wrong.
Wellspring, so what's the difference?
Nobody's doing nobody. I
It's raid
I
or
guess I
nothing.
shouldn't say nobody, but you know, very few people are doing well springs. They're only doing it for the weapons, and that's when
Which
you're
is no
doing it
different.
for the weapons, it's hard to tell if someone actually truly enjoys it because you're kind of just slogging through it anyways. Um, I think one of the bigger tells is finding out how many people are doing those legendary campaign missions, rerunning those, right? Which is probably an extremely small number of people. I know there was a couple speedrunners doing a couple missions in the beginning, but after that, it was like nobody did those anymore. Um, stuff like that, and like what were those missions called? The one where you shot the symbols. It was like the little puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, the altars? No, is it an altar? No.
It's just like the memories with
Yeah,
Sephiroth.
yeah, those things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I already forgot the name, and I wouldn't be surprised if most people don't even remember they exist.
I did all of them, I think, on one character, and that
Yeah,
was it. Which is that's coming from me. That is weird because I do every single seasonal story on every character.
yeah, I usually do too,
Like
and I
the fact that
definitely did
I'm
not
not
do it with
doing
that.
them, ugh, that's quote unquote expansion content.
Yep,
You
it's
know,
rough.
it's really not that different. I don't know if people understand that. Like the
So,
seasonal content versus like what would get in Lightfall. Like the stories can be really cool, and the little public event style missions, they're gonna be fine, but nobody's really gonna love them.
yep. I mean, they're just gonna do. Everybody just does them enough just to get by, just to progress. There's very few things in this game, unfortunately, that really gets people excited. You know,
Yeah,
um, raids is obviously one of them. I know I enjoy doing GMs. Unfortunately, this season doing GMs wasn't really worth it at all.
yeah. I mean, there
It
has to be
was,
some reason for like, weapon loot. You know, armor drops aren't enough to go
yeah. I mean,
farm GM.
if I could sort of kind of tailor my exotics that I got from GMs, um, to like give me chests and boots or arms and helmet, I would definitely be on top of it. But just the fact that it's just dip into this massive pool of exotics and end up getting what 6 lucky raspberries in a row, mm, I'm good.
I
I
really,
don't like gems that
why
much.
can't we get a mod on the Ghost that's like helmet armor and
Exactly.
then
Yep.
discipline armor, and it's like now I'm gonna get exotics in the helmet slot, which is like still 9 or something. You know, still a bunch, but now it's not 30. You know,
Hmm.
now I'm not literally getting random drops. I at least have something that I
There,
can
there
grind
needs to be
for.
some way to kind of to kind of tighten the cone of loot, right? Just a little bit, even just a little bit, right? I mean, the ghost, discipline stuff and that stuff is a good start, but it's just a little bit more, especially for those end game activities. I
And
feel like
in
is
regards to exotics, I'm not going to farm lost sectors,
I
so
I make the
nobody
mistake
better
every
say
time.
that.
I
Like
make the mistake every time. I'm just like, I'm not gonna farm sectors, but then the boots sector comes around, and I'm like, oh, this one's not that bad, and I hop on my hunter because I want a better Star Eaters, and I do a couple, and I'm just like, why did I think this was gonna be any different?
when it was the really quick EDZ one before it got patched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I did 10 runs on my warlock and got one exotic, and it was Vesper of Radius. and I was trying to get a new Phoenix protocol, and it's like I'm not like I got it on my, I'm pretty sure I got it on my 5th clear, and then 6, or maybe I got my 6th clear, but anyway, like I got it like halfway through, and I was like, no, like I just spent like, I don't know, like 50 minutes to an hour. And oh yeah, an hour per exotic. That seems good. No, well, not actually, because I'm doing something that's extremely quickly. It's like I'm not doing a Legend Lost sector in 10 minutes and getting one in 3 clears.
I
That
just
wouldn't be
had an
that bad.
idea. I just had an idea for the sectors, and I feel like most people would hate this, but I feel like if you want to focus, or like if you want guarantees, you have to give up certain things, right? You have to give up certain freedoms. And with that being said, you already get your loadout locked in the sector, right? So why not make it so that each sector has like a highlighted weapon, for instance, or like a highlighted subclass. And in the description it says when you use this weapon or this subclass, your chances of getting an exotic are extremely high, which is basically Bungie's way of saying you're pretty much going to get an exotic guaranteed,
Yeah, that's a cool way to
right?
incentivize like the old school prestige loadouts from
Exactly,
the Levy
exactly.
days.
So you don't feel like you're fully wasting your time, and it gives you something to like think about. Like, let's say that the prized weapon is like skyburners or something, right? You got to use skyburners in here. You got to make it work. And um, while most people, especially if you're on Warlock, you'd probably just put on Phoenix Protocol and throw, 2 nuclear bombs at everything. Um, you're using skyburners, right?
Yeah,
And
it's still not your optimal loadout. And to be honest, even if it was like, oh, I don't have a Skyburner, blah 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 blah. Well, listen, then you don't get the increased exotic drop.
yeah,
Suck it up.
and hell, they could even make an option. You either use this subclass or this weapon, or if you use both, you're guaranteed. How about that? You know, Arc Warlock with the skyburners. You know, good luck. Have fun with that.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Even if it was like, oh, there's no scout rifle champion mods, there's always a way with your other weapons to have it.
hmm
So maybe that loadout, because it's like, wow, there's no scout mods, and I need overload in anti-barrier. I'm gonna run a overload nade mod, or I'm gonna run, I don't know.
Or you run, if you're on Warlocks, the can't filaments. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, there you go. Or
Right.
in Throw and Lament or something like that. It's like there's always ways around. There's so many
Yeah.
weapons now, and more coming that will have mods on them. So
Oh yeah. I mean,
I think
they've
the
already
system
talked
works.
about it, and yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. It would properly respect players' time instead of just throwing your face into the void and praying to God you grab something, and when you do, you're like, "Good, this is terrible." You get a pair of 59 Gemini Jesters, and you're like, "Why?" Like I've been doing this for 2 hours, and I have a 59 Gemini Jesters, you know, to show for it.
Yeah,
It's
players just
it's
want their
insulting.
time respected,
Yeah,
and
hell, if it takes me three to 4 minutes a run using this, which in a sector is kind of long, but 3 to 4 minutes per run, using this, wicked loadout or whatever the subclass, whatever. At least I'm getting an exotic at the end.
uh-huh,
That's the way I see it.
you have an end goal that is going to happen. You're not just chasing a
Nothing.
mirage and
Yeah,
hoping that it's gonna happen. Right?
and that's something that they definitely need to look at, is do something about the sectors, because right now they're so, honestly, taking away both the sectors and jamming them to one kind of sucked. Like, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like putting into one for some people was great, but I think just all around it's
I
just
liked the
bad.
variety because I liked
Yeah.
having more options depending on the day.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, I could do helmet, but it's a less chance because it's only a legend. It's like, I'll just do that legend, whatever. It's a little bit easier, less chances, but you're going for a helmet, you know. So you get those 2 exotic options a day, which now it's only one, which kind of sucks. But
Going back on like the
anyways,
drop rate slash stats, it's kind of crazy that Bungie pushes like the build crafting aspect so much, which is totally fine. Like, if that's the aspect they want to push, then go for it. I'm fine with that. They need to properly build the loot table around what they expect players to have now, especially from an upper level type player. It's like you want the 1% type builds, but there's like no way to work towards it. It's just random.
Mm-hmm.
So I am limited by my random exotic drop that I can't get a specific one of. There's no way to specifically target an exotic for a build. So
Yeah.
how are you supposed to make a build around that if you don't have a way to get the role you want?
I mean, I think there's a, you know, like with the sector, they either make some way where you give up a certain freedom and then now you've increased your chances or guaranteed your chances, or they just put some kind of intrinsic weighting system, which, for instance, let's say you're doing GMs, you want uh oh no, actually just thinking about this doesn't work. I was gonna say weighting certain exotics towards what subclass you're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say you want Caliban's hand out of GMs, you just run solar. You have a higher chance of getting all exotics that interact with solar and all things solar, plus the neutral exotics like Gemini, um, Frosty, Stompies, stuff like that are also in that pool because they're in the everything pool. But it's kind of sort of refined it into like Caliban's Athers's Embrace, um, Ophidia, stuff like that, right? I
You know
think
what this is all leading to, though?
what?
They need to bring back that strike card
Yeah,
where you can customize
yeah,
it yourself. Oh, I want to make it
yeah,
harder for myself. Now I'm increasing the chances. Why don't they
yeah,
get rid of legend and master difficulties? Now, hey, I've got this card. I can set the difficulty. Depending on the difficulty I go in with, I have a certain amount of
or
chance. I play on the equivalent of master, I have a 30% chance of getting it. I then limit to certain loadouts or subclasses, and now I have an 80% chance. Bam.
yeah. I mean, or you make it something like you want a chess piece, you want an exotic chess piece, you set it in the card, and the card tells you you need to meet this requirement, and the requirement is like every little modifier you put on ups that multiplier or whatever to that requirement. So if you want that chess piece, you need to put a lot of things on to make this, quite awful basically. But at the end of
You
it, you're
are
getting a chess piece.
guaranteed to get the chess piece. Right?
Yeah.
That's like you can make the game as hard as you want, but if you know you're gonna get it, then it's worth it.
Oh yeah. And then you find some other people that are like, hey, you want to farm some chess pieces? You get 3 warlocks together, all running Starfire protocol, and you guys are just blasting through ads,
Mm-hmm.
and getting better Starfires, with better rolls and stat distros and stuff like that. So um
I
that
think
to
I
me that to me seems like a proper use of your time.
and it's something that can be adjusted per player and their skill. Like I think that's just a way better system of having it be customizable, and then depending on what threshold you reach, you get a certain thing. So
Hmm.
the equivalent of a legend threshold, you have this. You can then it's almost like Skulls in Halo. Like this is ultimately what
Yeah.
it's coming to, where you have the base difficulties and then slight modifiers. You can play on normal with all these skulls, and it can feel harder than heroic, but ultimately, like your player level is still based around normal. You're not on heroic or legendary. But then you can
Yeah.
play legendary and nothing. It's like just that customizability for difficulty is where I think the game needs to go. Besides, like the day ones, granted, day ones should be harder, but like that customizability of difficulty throughout
It
every
just
other
needs to.
time, because you could apply that to a raid. Now you've got all these people saying they want contest raids, right? Right? Just
Yeah.
have you can do it yourself. You can literally make the restrictions yourself.
I mean, it just needs to feel like a proper use of your time invested, right? For instance, if you can only invest so much time in your day, you're obviously not going to put crazy, or unless you're not too far into the game where you have really good builds and all the exotics and the catalysts and stuff done. Well, you can only do so much, but you can get a little bit towards your goal, right? Whereas other people that have invested a lot, you can get pretty far. You can basically get whatever you want because you've put that time in, right? It allows you to get that stuff done and feel properly rewarded for it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very kind of just cut and dry. You know, otherwise you just Bungie is essentially just preying on the model of, you know, keep swinging your hand in the darkness and you'll probably grab something eventually.
And that's just not fun for the player, right? If they
Yeah, you
want player
know.
retention, they need the game to be as, like, I was gonna say accessible, but I don't mean it the way that a lot of people mean it. But I mean like accessible based off of what you want. Game. If you
Yeah,
want to be able to
and
push yourself to get something and make it harder, then you should be able to do that.
there's nothing worse than doing like 5 hours of Catch Crash and then expeditions and you have no red borders to show for it. None. You know, and you did all this farming to get the materials, you spent it on the umbrals and not a single red border to show for it. You know, that to me is just it's just disrespectful. You know, like I don't know. I feel like at a certain point something's got to give. You know,
Yeah.
there's got to be almost these checkpoints where you're guaranteed something given enough effort. You know, hell, like make it raid exotics once you hit, you know, 50 clears, you guaranteed you unlock the raid exotic.
50 clears
Like
and
it
get all
just
the challenges done.
yeah, and it just gives it to you, right? Because there are people that have gone well past 50, but and you know, there's people that get it first try, but you know, look, you can't make it a handout, but you also can't make it impossible, you know.
There should be a grind with an end reward that you for basically everything in the game.
Yeah, so when you're doing your weekly raids with your friends and stuff, you go, hey, everybody hop on, you know, let's do our raid. And then you're like, oh, what clear are you on? You're like, I'm on 24. Do you have touch of mouse yet? No, but I'm halfway there. You know, you don't feel the despair of like, oh, not getting touch again this week. Who
Yeah.
knows when I'll get it, you know, week 80 or whatever, you know, like it's you see 25 and you check your triumphs and you're like, I'm halfway there. It feels good knowing you're going to get there eventually, but you can get there faster just by being lucky, which is okay. I think
Yeah,
that's
of
completely okay.
course you want to still have RNG in the loot-based game because you want people to just play and get fun things, and you want them to be able to get the things they want just by being lucky or fortunate. But then, similar to basically what the crafting system is supposed to be for, your guaranteed roll, that should be applied to pretty much every facet of the game. You
Yeah.
want this specific reward, you should be able to work your way for it. The red border way, I don't think is a very fun way to do it, but it is a way, and that's something.
Yeah. That's what we have right now. And I I can't think of a different way off the top of my head, you know, an effective way, I should say. You know, all I can think of is the solution for what we have right now, which is, you know, every like three, let's say every 5 expeditions, you get a red border, you know, or something to that effect, you know, some arbitrary number. But yeah, they just got to have these checkpoints that you can look towards for salvation,
I mean, at
right?
the very
Instead of
least, it could still be, like in Levy, where it's like a ghost. I forget what it did, but it was like it increased the chance of you getting.
oh, I guaranteed one of those chests is going to give you an exotic. That's what it was.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, and it was an increasing chance. So it's like, okay, I don't get it for this, but I know by like my 5th one opening, I'm gonna get one.
Yep.
So I could get lucky, but I'm still satisfied with the level that is considered the handout. By just playing enough, I'm gonna get what I want.
Yeah.
It's a good mixture of
Yeah.
both. The Bungie's done this in the past. Like they've shown the ability to understand a lot of this stuff. So
Oh yeah.
my hope is that going forward, Lightfall, Final Shape, that these types of changes do come into play. And I actually do believe there's a good chance that things do come.
God, I hope so.
I mean, at the very least, my hope is that when they drop the current gen consoles, aka last gen consoles, that there's a big overhaul. My hope is just that it's not in 3 years or 2 years. Now, I'd like it to be Final Shape or
Sooner.
sooner, but I have a
Yeah.
feeling it'll be after Final Shape. But that's all right. I'm okay with being a boomer gamer. It's crazy to
Yeah,
think though that when Final Shake comes out, I will be um how old
you'll be.
am I? I'm thinking because I'm like, oh, it doesn't. I was thinking it was coming out in September. I don't know why. Like I was used to like it always comes out the month after my birthday, but it's
Yeah,
like okay, 24 now, 25 for life. I'll be 26. That's fine. I'm chilling.
yeah. I mean, I'll be pushing 40.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see where life is, in a few years. But I'm hopeful that I can still play this game with the same enthusiasm. Because even in 3 years, I'll still want to play it like I do.
Yeah, I mean, I have no intention of quitting. Like officially, like just uninstalling and never opening the game again. I think when people do that, it's some kind of cry for help. But you know, I the way I see it, if I'm not having fun or there's nothing for me to chase or do, I just do something else, and that's completely healthy. But for now, there's tons of stuff for me to make builds on, stuff for me to just meme around with, and make the game interesting, right? Um, and that's as long as that still exists in the game, I'll be here for the long haul, personally.
Hmm. That'll be our final point about what's good about current seasons is that
Yeah.
we
By the way,
still
yeah.
feel like there's something we can still do, even if it's
Uh,
a little boring sometimes.
yeah. I mean, there's always something like Volt Shot's a great example of that. You know,
Hmm.
Volt Shot is such an awesome perk. If you haven't used it yet, I highly recommend it, especially on the Scout with demo. Oh man, Volt Shot is crazy, so good. Um,
It's a
but
really cool kill clip because you're procking it on a target. You hit them, charge them, you hit them again, zaps out, kills something. You just reload and shoot another target.
and it does that extra damage to the target you first tagged, like a
Uh huh.
yellow bar knight. Like it actually, you're doing a lot more damage to this yellow bar knight than
Yeah,
you
once
normally
you
would.
like put the effect on them, they like are
They
taking the
melt.
volt shot damage as well as
Yeah,
then the chain damage. Like there's like an arc effect on them too.
yeah, it's really good. It's very good. And it has a little interaction with anti-barrier. Um, if you, let's say, it's kind of weird to describe, but basically, if you tag an enemy and a barrier puts a shield up and you shoot the tagged enemy, that jolt, that jolt that comes out of it can break a barrier shield.
That's
Because
cool.
it's
I
the
didn't know
jolt
that.
itself. Yeah, the jolt itself is anti-barrier. Like
Cool.
it's yeah, it's because it came from the scout,
I wonder if
right?
that
So
works with incandescent. Like
that's a great
if you had a
question.
shield low enough and you blew up a thrall, would it pop it?
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll have to test it.
Yeah. But I was doing, I don't know what I was doing, but I noticed that with the jolt, like I shot something and then it barriered up, and then um I swapped to like my machine gun and I killed the ad, and killing the ad, the jolt broke the barrier, and I was like, what? And then I realized it was because I shot it with my scout and it left like that volt shot little thing on the ad still is anti-barrier.
Hmm,
So
that's pretty cool.
yeah. So I guess wrapping that one up, if you want to talk about uh topic two, if you want to fly through that, the early state of the game.
Yeah, we can do
And
it quick. We're
yeah,
over
we're
an hour and a half. I
oh
want to
shit,
talk
we
for.
can I might just, I might just save
You know
my
what?
builds
How about
rant for the
this?
next episode.
How about we save the build, we save the build stuff, and we tease what we talk about with mods and weapons. So I'll start by talking about some stupid weapons like forbearance, just real quick. Try and keep this under like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, because a weapon like for I can't believe Bungie put the perk the trait Soul Drinker, which is healing after dealing damage with a vow weapon. You deal damage with the weapon, you reload, and it'll give you like a chunk of health. I can't believe they put that on a single shot weapon that's designed around ad clear. I can't believe it. You shoot the ground, it flies 50 meters now, because they updated the length of the
Hmm.
blast. It destroys like I don't know, like 6 scions and a knight next to him because of chain reaction. And you reload and you get your entire health bar back from any damage. It's absurd. I can't believe they did that. They like that's one aspect
It,
they need to like. I don't know how they're gonna nerf it, but they need to nerf that weapon specifically.
it. I don't even know how they could begin to do that. But my weapon that I'll tease is Trinity Ghoul because it follows the same principle of shoot ground.
We love shooting the ground.
Like I cannot stand the fact that two of the best ad clear weapons in the game, the only thing they require you to do is shoot the ground. It genuinely boggles my mind. And the fact that Trinity Ghoul does damage comparable to a forbearance shot and like in a massive AoE with uncapped AoE effectively is just mind boggling to me. That's how that's even allowed.
We love 40% buffs to miners
Yeah.
because they're yellow. I But why do exotics do 40% more damage? I don't know. Just because. I wish they would have buffed somehow the perks, but or just
Can't do that. Yeah.
I don't know, incentivize them in another way. Them arbitrarily having more damage is
It's they wanted them to be more primaries, use.
they wanted them to be the
They
best
wanted the primary
primaries,
usage, yeah, to go up, but
and they needed
they
double
thought
special to drop. But
they thought people were gonna bust out the bad juju, and it's not happening,
no,
not even a little bit.
I don't
So
know. Yeah, because it wasn't
that's
even like it's like everything gets it. It's like Graviton Lance is still as mediocre as it was. It's just 40% better than the legendaries, but the exotics that were better
yeah.
are still as much better than it. Like they're still
It's
better. Like why would I not
it just
use
feels
Teagle?
lost.
Teagle's just better. So now Teagle's even more better.
And then weapons not having certain 3.0 traits on them is also kind of mind-boggling. Like here's a quick one. Like you said, you brought up graviton. That graviton explosion applies volatile.
Dude, that'd be sick.
I mean, I don't understand. Like, why is this not a no-brainer for them? Hell, this is just I'm calling for a straight up nerf, and I might have Salt tweet it for me just to start up another massive shitstorm on Twitter. Okay, Trinity Ghoul needs to just get Volt shot.
That would be
Like,
crazy.
ju- like just like a slight like just Volt shot. How
I
about
mean,
that?
it could be a buff version, but yeah, I just think Volt Shot would work.
It's
It would have to be buffed though, because otherwise that's kind of like how it
yeah,
used to be.
yeah. So
But that's fine. It
uh,
can be worse than what it is now, but better than the legendary counterpart, which is how it should be.
exactly,
What's
and
wrong with that?
I don't know, like the fact that there's all these weapons that exist and they still haven't brought them in. I know they brought in like Promi Lens and Skyburners and stuff to be more in line with the 3.0 and stuff. It's just they're leaving so many behind, and it's not doing them any favors. I feel like there's a lot they could do, and they just feel afraid to do it for whatever reason. But they weren't afraid to give Wish Ender anti-barrier. Uh, where did that come from? No one knows.
It's a high damaging weapon that's kind of like an arbalist. So let's give it anti-barrier. It
Which,
kind
by the
of
way,
is.
Wish Ender does the same damage as a aggressive sniper right now to a champion's head, like in Master. Like it's
Yeah, but
kind
snipers
of
are safe,
obnoxious.
so they can't be good.
It's
I want to
kind
go
of
back
unreal.
into like the Dawn TWAB when it came out, and yeah, they're nerfed because they're too easy to use. They're too safe.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Linears and div.
yeah, oh, crazy.
Possibly the easiest meta to ever exist ever. So I mean that's the that we'll leave it with that. That's the teaser.
Hmm.
Um and you want to go into really quickly the life updates?
Yeah, so life updates. My recent thing is how I'm, like trying to get a PC. You might have seen on Twitter. I have the funds, or so I thought. teaser. um, so how I got most of these funds, I had a CS:GO inventory that was pretty pricey. I was the other day, I finally sold the last item on my list, which ended up selling for it was the biggest one, which was 1,700 USD, which is crazy considering I bought it at like 700. Like I made like about $1,000 increase. Pretty nice, right? So earlier I was doing my little thing because you have to convert it into crypto and then to your like PayPal account and then to your bank. You have to do this big routing thing. And I was going through the process and there's like an address that's like tied to your account. And I thought that was because I had done this a while ago, like 6 months ago when I sold parts of my inventory before, and I thought it was after this process where you clicked OK and stuff like that, but it wasn't. It was before, and I will tell you when I clicked OK and I was like, wait, where'd it go? I look into my account and I see my little picture like thing that I'm supposed to scan with an updated address, and I'm like, my hands are on my head right now. I'm like, oh shit. No, 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 no. Like I started having a legit like
Oh my god.
borderline panic attack because I just thought I lost $3,000. I haven't felt that bad in I don't know years. I recently moved to the States for school, and there was a point in time where I thought I wasn't going to be able to get in time when I was crossing the border. I was more nervous now than I was then.
That's
Thankfully,
nightmare fuel.
about 3 hours later, I'm refreshing every like 20 minutes, hoping that a payment comes through. I've already created a support ticket being like emergency accidental withdrawal. Like I was flipping out, like I was losing my mind. And then I see it in my PayPal, and I'm like, oh my god! Like I lean back in my chair. I'm just like, all the air I just exhale out. Like I can't believe it. I'm so fortunate because I thought that literally my PC dreams were gone.
Just like that.
Just like that. That was an intense
Yeah,
5 p.m. for me.
I think most people in that scenario would be having an absolute, complete and utter meltdown / panic attack. I'd be making phone calls. I'd be freaking out. I'd be sweating, crying, screaming, all kinds, dude.
I looked
That's a lot
at
of
like
money, man.
everything I could do to like get the contact us information, emails, and like I essentially just had to wait. And I was like, oh my gosh. And when I saw there's like a thing that says like unconfirmed, in process, confirmed, for like the deposit, because that's to kind of essentially get like wired to your account.
Yeah.
And when I saw that it said confirmed after I refreshed the page and I didn't see the money, that's when like I was 99% sure I was losing the money. Because I was gonna get an email back tomorrow saying, "Oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do because the withdrawal already completed."
Yep.
Thankfully, it all worked out. I still like the PC. It's gonna happen, boy. It's gonna happen. It's so close. I can't believe it. But like this thing that Vandal kind of recommended to me. We kind of talked about a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I don't need it. I don't need the inventory. Like, why do I need it? I don't even play the game anymore, really. And now I'm gonna have a brand new PC. Streamer Cruz inbound.
Absolute monster of a computer coming in hot.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Waiting for that poll to finish. Although I still think I'm gonna go 13th gen. I'll pay the extra $100.
I think it's worth it. I mean, you're just kind of paying for the future in a way.
Exactly. I think ultimately that's my deciding factor. And it was only like $20 off with like you can purchase them now. A couple of them are like pre-purchase. Because
Yeah.
they're kind of like getting ready to be shipped and stuff like that. But like $20, like no, that's I needed like 50, 60 to like be like, okay, yeah, I'll get the lower one because they're trying to get it out the door. Do you have anything you want to add? Any life stuff, or you want to
Uh,
just go on to the last thing?
I don't really have a whole lot other than make sure you preemptively follow Cruz on Twitch for when he becomes a big streamer, man. Other than that,
Twitch.tv/TV Cruise.
yes, sir.
I can plug it. It's my thing.
You get to enjoy Cruz's emotes, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, more on the way. I'm working on them. The red thumbs. I'm gonna be
Red Thumb
known for
Gang.
them.
Um, yeah, I think we can about wrap it up.
All right. So this little last thing, this is just open ended. Any of the viewers or listeners that are still here, obviously, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you being here with us. This is a big embarkment of our journey that we want to do and see where the podcast can go. We feel like we have a lot to share, so hopefully you guys like hearing from us. If you have any questions, we want to hear from you. So in the comment section below, like say, hey, I've got an idea for a segment that I think would be cool, or Cruz, I think having like a fitness thing each week where like you get one question and you answer it, like that would be cool, or a general life advice segment. You know, we can do a lot of stuff like that at the end here. Most of them probably won't go as long. We had a lot to talk about, obviously, and kind of
Yeah.
ranted a bit.
Oh yeah.
I think going forward we'll try and aim for about an hour, but this one's kind of just like a freelance, get it out of the way and let people
Just threw
listen.
something at the wall and see what stuck, kind of deal. So, but definitely, yeah. Put. We want to hear your thoughts. We really do. You know, comments. Um, I'm sure this will get posted on Twitter. So reply on Twitter if you see it from there. Um, yeah, and just let us know. We want you guys to enjoy this as much as we enjoy ranting about these things. Because we could be here a while, realistically.
I know, like I didn't think we'd be pushing the 2 hour mark necessarily, but here we are. But honestly,
Yeah.
that's not surprising. If we look back in our history, yeah, our talks
There's
have
been
been more than 2 hours many
yeah,
times.
there's been definitely a couple, I want to say 6+ hour nights
Yeah, for sure.
where we
We
stayed
start
up
at like
way too late.
we start at 10 and we finish at 4, like legitimately.
So, I guess to close it out, follow our socials, Cruise on Twitter, I'm sure it'll show up on screen, and mine's there too. So,
Yeah.
follow us. If you want to know more about Clan Elysium, make sure you check out Evan's video again. That'll be in the description. We do have a community server. Feel free to join that. There's a lot of people in there. Any last words, Cruz?
I don't think so. Actually, you know what? There's one. If you have an ending catchphrase or something that's like Destiny Dugout, like baseball-y, sporty, Destiny. If you have anything, they're all down there. We might use one. Gotta get
True.
some like cool
True.
catchphrase to end off, And we'll see you on the field.
I can't. I can't say that with a straight face.
Let's get out there and smack some balls. Things like that. Maybe a little better, maybe a little worse.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh man. All right. Well, thanks for being here again. We really appreciate it if you made it this far. Stay tuned. We're gonna try and put these out every Wednesday.
Yep.
That
The
way we
goal is
can
every
talk about
Wednesday.
that way we can talk about the reset and last week's TWAB, um, and going into, and then also the trials weekend. And
And there's too much stuff at the weekend. Like too many people post on the weekend. There's gotta be a weekday pod. It gives a little bit different tone.
yeah,
So we fill that void.
yeah, and again, just let us know what you liked and what you didn't like, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. I think sometimes, like depending on what like the week might bring, maybe if like there's a super juicy twab, maybe we'll record Saturday or Sunday and get out like Monday. Um just to get something out. If it is like a big thing. But I will tweet about it, letting y'all know that a episode's been recorded whenever there is one. So we will see you in the next episode of the Destiny Dugout.